Hello and welcome to Kump. I want to start off the show by giving a fond farewell, at least in the context of a presidential candidate, to Amy Klobuchar. Amy Klobuchar has, in recent weeks and months, on some level endeared herself to me. I mean, kind of a mad woman. If you're not familiar with her, she wasn't particularly viable as a candidate, it seems. She got a shot. Some would say surprise. Some would say shocking. Some would say rat fucking endorsement from the New York Times, along with Elizabeth Warren, to get like a joint endorsement. That's where you might, if you don't follow politics that closely, you might at least remember that. The two women. She's one of the two women. And, she's kind of it's the first time I ever encountered, reading about Amy Klobuchar. I think it was in the Times, ironically, was an article about basically what a mad woman she was. She was as a senator at the time, just throwing staplers at staff and just being really abusive. And I'm pretty sure she demeaned them. I don't know if she did any kind of. I don't think she abused them sexually, but there might have been some kind of sexual shaming going on. Probably not, but I wouldn't be surprised. Frat like stuff. Go hold this egg in your ass because you didn't properly proofread this bill that I'm trying to put in the Senate floor. So now go walk through the rotunda of the Capitol building with this hard-boiled egg in your, or not hard. It wouldn't be a hard-boiled egg because that would be easy, right? Because it would just be. It's soft or whatever. So you want to have a fresh egg that you make someone hold in their ass. And is this a thing? I don't know. I wasn't raised as an elite. I didn't go to an elite college. I'm not part of Skull and Bones or any kind of other fraternity. I don't know what people put in my ass for shaming purposes. I don't know. Or how they, but I wouldn't put it past a woman is all I'm saying. She famously ate a salad with a comb on an airplane, I believe, because she didn't have a fork. I don't know why the airplane didn't have a fork for her. They seem to have forks usually. But maybe she had a comb in her purse. And, some people would be disgusted to use their own comb to eat, but not Amy Klobuchar, because she is a special. Well, I don't mean that just facetiously. She's a special type of woman, especially in politics. Because, is it gross? She asked her staff to clean the comb after she ate, which I guess you don't want to be shoving salad dressing in your hair later on. But I find it interesting that her hair, I'm not saying she has lice. I'm not saying that Amy Klobuchar has vermin infestations in her hair, or that she has dandruff grease, and. Is there dandruff grease or grease dandruff? Dandruff or grease. I think they're kind of opposites. I have dandruff. My hair's not greasy at all. That's how I know. But either one. I don't want flecks of dandruff in my soup or my salad. But, Amy Klobuchar don't fuck around, I guess. Or she has immaculately clean hair, which doesn't seem like her type of, her MO. She's not a Tulsi Gabbard type. She's not I'm not saying she's an ugly woman. Or she's a grotesque. Look, it doesn't matter if she was. This is 2020. We can have ugly people in politics. We can have fat people in politics. We've had them forever. We used to have them all the time, I guess. But there was a time right after Nixon took a shit debating Kennedy because he was all clammy because he wasn't. They say it. I'm about to repeat what's probably a Nixon myth because they blame it on the fact that he wasn't prepped. For television. Kennedy was a young guy. If you're not familiar with this, in 1960, Richard Nixon, who was the vice president, was running against Kennedy, ended up losing, and a lot of people attribute that, a large part, besides Sam Giancana stealing Chicago for Kennedy, but, also to the fact of the debate performance by Nixon, because Nixon's just all clammed up, just sweating, looks like a pig. Just a pig, being in a kangaroo court, and people say it's because he wasn't prepped, he wasn't ready. I don't know. The guy, if you listen to the Watergate tapes, the guy was kind of. I mean, I don't. Has anything come out about him being a drug addict? About him doing blow or shooting? I mean, Kennedy was doing amphetamines all the time, and those can make you sweat. I mean, there's been plenty of times on Adderall where I've been sweating like a pig, just in the middle of job interviews, just trying to explain. I remember at the morgue, the first interview I went on. So here's the thing about the morgue. I mean, you gotta understand, it's like a county job. What is a county job? And you have to, basically take a test first of all. And the test in this case was a civil service test, but it was photography specific. And I knew my stuff pretty well, so I did. I wasn't have a top score, but I was like in the top 3 or 4 people. So they went through some people first. So I had to wait a couple years, and like they'll bring you in for an interview, and then you don't hear anything for 6 months, and then so I think I went to 3 different interviews, and the first one, and I didn't know any better at the time, I had to meet with the head of the crime lab, which is not part of the medical examiner's office where I worked. It's in the same building, but like different wings. The crime lab, they run they want to run tests on drugs, I guess, and run guns for ballistics, and they work closer with the cops. They're not directly part of the cops, but I had to meet with the head of the crime lab, which is just because and I found out later it's just because people are on vacation, and instead of just rescheduling like normal people, they decided to have a guy who I would never work with. I mean, I would see him sometimes at like Christmas parties, and and we'd say hello over the course of the 3 or 4 years I was there. This is the guy who I assume he knew that I was supposed to be a photographer. I don't know if he thought I was just a janitor. But the point and reason I'm bringing up the story is that I was sweaty. And look, I guess I sweat when I'm nervous a bit. I maybe. But I also probably took some Adderall before. Why not? It's an important thing. You want to be on your best, put your best foot forward. So why not have mounds of sweat dripping off your forehead and going through your shirt? Because keep in mind, I was working at a potato bread warehouse at the time. So I wasn't used to wearing still not used to wearing dress shirts with like ties, all bound up. Tucked in. I mean, even when I did photography, like wedding photography, I wouldn't wear a tie. I mean, I wore ties growing up as a kid, but I'm saying there's a level you should be able to go to a job interview. That's what they don't want, but you should just be able to go in your normal clothes and some people do. You got to play power moves because they put you on the back foot by making you I wore a goddamn shirt and tie to a McDonald's interview, and the guy kind of called me out. I think I, put DECA on my application, which I wasn't a lie, technically. Because I'd gone, DECA is like a business class in high school, not business, a business club. And you do like mock business stuff. I don't really know. I went to one meeting. It wasn't for me. So I went to a Catholic school that I got kicked out of eventually. So I had to take a bus. I couldn't walk home. So it was a late bus. So I'm not going to stay 2.5 hours after school every day to do mock marketing meetings and try to pitch, asbestos, but rebranded. God, I wish I did this now. I mean, if I can go back, I wouldn't fuck the hot girl or be one of the popular kids. I would just be part of DECA and just do really good pitches for toxic materials, different kinds of pesticides that'll end up giving people cancer, because that's what business is. I mean, if they didn't go for it, which I don't know, maybe they do. I'd love to know. I would have been so good at this. I mean, they probably wouldn't have, especially in my school, gone for it. But I mean, they should really scout kids to see who's trying to be duplicitous in DECA. But anyway, I put DECA on my application, and the guy was like, "Oh, I was in DECA." The guy at McDonald's. I mean, obviously, what am I going to say? He was probably making more money than I was, so I was going to shit on the fact. Obviously, he did well, but I mean, he was a manager. Someone believed in him. So I mean, I don't know if I'm in a position. Maybe after 20 some odd years or whatever, maybe I'm in a position to look down on him, not for his job, but just whatever. I mean, but the point is, but at the time, no, he was no one was going to make me a manager when I was 15 or 16. I mean, I was sweating profusely, and I was marginally misleading people about DECA. So I don't. But the point is, it didn't really lead to a Fortune 500 company for him. Where do we go? That's the charm of the show, is the tangents. But we're talking about, it was Klobuchar, but so I'm at the morgue. I'm just sweating profusely at this guy, and I'm answering questions. I'm doing all right, I think. But he's like, oh, you're sweating a lot. I'm like, I just sweat a lot. Like, are you nervous? Like, no, I just sweat a lot. And I kept repeating to him. And like, oh, it's okay. My son sweats constantly, which I thought was an odd admission. I mean, it was a nice, warm thing to do to try to make me feel better. It'd be funny if he was like, my son's a crackhead. He sweats all the time, so you're not getting the job, which I didn't at the time. Then I went to 2 different interviews. I think eventually I met with the chief medical examiner, which is more appropriate because I was directly under her, and she called out the sweating, and I again said I'm not nervous. I just sweat a lot. I don't think they didn't even try to make me feel better. I don't think they believed me. They probably thought I was on drug. I mean, it was prescribed medication, but you should be able to wear one of those bracelets that that says like, hey, this guy will sweat all the time, and it's just an official thing. So my point is, how does that relate to Klobuchar? She was a beast of a woman. How did we get onto the sweating? And I believe, because she sweat all the time. I don't know. But she's not the kind of person that you would have groomed to be president, right? Like, she's not an unattractive person, or some people, douchey guys will say she's ugly. She's plain. And she's a normal woman. What do you want to tell you? A maniac, an aggressive maniac, but a normal woman. And, but she's kind of, no one's putting on the cover of a magazine unless she makes a trade deal with Iraq or something. So I wonder who groomed her, because Tulsi Gabbard, you see, not that anyone really did a good job grooming her, but Pete Buttigieg. Groomed. I mean, by the CIA, but still, he's a good-looking guy. He's gay, which is good now. Plays in this day and age. He went to Afghanistan or whatever and pretended to kill people when he was really just hiding in an intelligence bunker, probably. I don't know for sure, but I mean, but we do. We probably, this guy wasn't out there like Animal Mother in Full Metal Jacket. And so the point is, Klobuchar. I mean, she ended up charming me with just the mania of her. I mean, there was one point in one of the last debates when they were asking about guns and gun control, and they're trying to pin Bernie on being like a gun guy because he's from Vermont. There's people like guns, and I'm sure over the years he had to. You pick your priorities, and those people they don't want you taking away their assault rifle or even their hunting rifle. So he didn't make it a big deal, and he probably voted for some gun stuff, and he had to defend himself. Like, I actually have a D- from the NRA. Whatever, dude. It's fine. But Amy, her entire argument was that we should put someone in charge who's from the place where they have the guns and knows these people. Because, almost quote, I'm probably getting a little bit wrong, but quote, I'm not going to hurt my Uncle Dick in the deer blind, which is amazing. It's I'm not going to hurt my Uncle Dick in the deer blind. I mean, if it's not orchestrated, she's a gem. And if it is, that's still great. You got to understand, there's a lack of talent out there in politics. It's really surprising. When you see the duds they put up here every 4 years on both sides. I mean, you look at Trump, and as much as he was an ascendant figure of this new zeitgeist, kind of marshaling and harnessing the discontent of the white working class who feel like they got left behind, all that. Yeah, there's all that's true. But also, they put a lot of real duds against him. Jeb Bush, with Marco Rubio, Ted Cruz. Who's voting for these people? I mean, I don't understand why they can't seem to just have a decent supply of like fairly attractive people with decent families that like can speak with some kind of energy. I mean, how did Ted Cruz even get into? I mean, I get Mitch McConnell because that guy's older. Unless he's just, I mean, is Mitch McConnell older or does he have some disease? Is he 40 and he just looks like we use the word reptilian all the time. A lot of people have been saying Bloomberg's a reptilian, and look, we don't mean it literally by anyone, but I mean, unless you're David Icke, and then you do, but yeah, he Bloomberg fits the bill as far as he's just this like waspy. Well, he's Jewish, I guess, but he's one of those waspy-ish Jews, who like he's Jewish, but like he has this kind of cold-blooded, just kind of the same way these. I mean, much like George H.W. Bush, just kind of his like analytical, but no charm, no soul, but McConnell's like a fucking actual like lizard, like his eyes just set in. And his cheeks, I don't know. But like that guy, I mean, I'm assuming he's older, and like he kind of got in under the whatever before the deadline. We had to be hot because even we talked about the whole Nixon thing, but he's I don't know. At some point, it was okay to be a little more gross. I mean, the 70s, if you look at the movies, and I like this. I mean, I think it's better. I mean, you watch a lot of these movies from the 70s and even the 80s, and just people were just like more normal looking. They were a little more like, no, they weren't all hot. I mean, there's something just gross about everyone being hot. It's just like, it's just artificial. It doesn't feel like you're in a real world. And, but McConnell, I mean, so the point is, she's not that bad. Oh, no, I don't know why they can't get these people. They can't get a supply of like decent looking, like Kennedy wasn't like that hot. People talk about him like he was fucking George Clooney. He was like kind of a weird looking guy, but like basically attractive. And I guess did he have good game? I mean, Marilyn Monroe was fucking him, and she was fucking his brother. They're both kind of weird looking. I wish Lucy was here next week so I could get her read on this, but they seem like they're held in esteem as being these attractive guys. I think they're kind of weird looking, but they got power, so they're fucking Marilyn Monroe, and they end up, poisoning her because she knew too much or some shit, forcing pills down her throat. I mean, who knows? Maybe they were drugging her before too. The point is, though, is that they just can't get, like, Obama shouldn't be the unicorn that he was. I mean, forget the fact that he's black, and that was as far as like for the Democratic Party and being diverse, it was a big asset. I mean, at the time they thought it could be a liability. I mean, everyone was saying that America might not be ready, whatever. But he was like, attractive guy, great speaker, all this shit. Like, but that shouldn't be that hard. Like, you can't just go to like not quite like fail like completely destitute actors, but like what about Jason Priestley? Like from 90210, right? Because Luke Perry's dead. Because I say Luke Perry. But Jason Priestley's probably better because he's a little more... I mean, they're both pretty attractive guys, but I think Luke Perry was a little more, teen bop, cover of the magazine, slick. Like, Jason Priestley was a little more... Where, like, when he became... I mean, what's he look like now? 45. I mean, what's he look like? I could look it up, but I won't. I'm sure he looks great. I think I saw him in something like 10 years ago. I mean, you can't get that guy? That guy can read lines. I mean, you can't teach that guy to talk about, the need for a stable healthcare system or whatever. Like these people, like, what is Joe Biden saying? What is Bloomberg saying? I mean, yeah, Bernie's got his whole fucking thing going on, but he's an outlier. But I mean, most of these people aren't like talking policy, like they're not wonks. I mean, they have like people coaching them and they have people ramming stuff down their throats, but like they're not like particularly good in their field. We watch them on debates. They're not like experts on any of this. They know the broad strokes. And they'll say they're experts because like, oh, we have to work on this bill, but they have their own people. Like they have this staff in the Senate and even as Congress people who like act and who work with the lobbyists usually. And in the worst case, well, in the normal case, in the best case, maybe you got like guys like Barney Frank and Dodd. What was Dodd's first name? Dodd-Frank. But, you know, like, I'm sure they know a bit. They know enough to get angry about the banking system. But I don't think they're writing all the fucking... They're not writing the goddamn, like, laws. They have, like, a staff for that. And they know... They keep abreast of it. But, like, you know, you don't... Jason Priestley could pull this off. He could be this guy. And you have a plethora of that. I mean, Kevin Sorbo. Is he American? I don't know. Why not Kevin Sorbo? I think the guy who played Hercules on a TV show. I think he'd be great. If Robert Downey Jr. hadn't have had that great comeback with the MCU, the Marvel movies, and was playing Iron Man, he would have been a great guy. I mean, someone like that. But there's guys like that who have, I mean, Mickey Rourke. I mean, he might be a little bit, you know, much. But get Jason Schwartzman. I mean, Jason Schwartzman, I loved Rushmore. I love Slackers. What's he, I mean, Bored to Death was a great show. But, you know, lately, what's he been... I'm sure he'll pop up in Wes Anderson movies and, like, a few... But, like, what are his days like? I met him once. He was in that band Phantom Planet. Again, they're not setting the world on fire. I like the first album. Now, when I go back, it's not for me as much. They had a California song. California. It was nice. It was fun. It was the early 2000s. Point is, get Jason Schwartzman to run for Congress and then eventually president. Like, get some people in the goddamn system. Why are we like, but, you know, we have what we have at the moment. And Klobuchar, just a maniac. And I loved her. I wouldn't have voted for her for president, but I might have. Yeah, I wouldn't admit to it probably, but I might. Vice president, phenomenal. I mean, if Biden ends up winning and picks Klobuchar as his VP, that'll be a lot of fun because you got a brain dead guy on the top and just a pretty aggressive, if we believe these stories, just batshit crazy Midwestern woman. I mean, if she's the one running the shot, like if we just parallel it to the George W. Bush administration and she's the Cheney, I mean, that's phenomenal. I mean, that'd be amazing. What is Klobuchar going to invade? I mean, is she going to orchestrate the invasion of, like, Australia? Just like start massacring kangaroos. I mean, I think she might. I mean, what even happens in the Midwest? What are these people like? Are these people kind of like Russians? You'd think they'd be like Russian. I mean, I guess it's not as cold as Russia, but it's pretty cold, right? People talk about the Midwest as all folksy, but Russia is cold, and it's not folksy. Those people are hard. They're hard, brutal people, and I don't really. I guess it gets colder. I mean, Siberia. I'm sure there's parts of Russia that's similar to North Dakota. Is that part of the Midwest? I think it is, right? Or is that considered North? I don't even know. I don't know anything about geography. I assume. I mean, she has that kind of aw shucks Fargo-y kind of vibe. Not as hard as Fargo, but like, hey, my Uncle Dick and the Dick Blind, or whatever the fuck. So, maybe she'll invade Russia, but not, you know, just because she wants to, like, you know, go skiing more. They ski in Russia? Again, I don't know. I mean, it doesn't seem, you don't hear a lot about skiing in Russia. It's a big wintry place. I'm sure they have mountains. That's the problem. That's why they're so hard. I mean, it's cold as shit, but like they don't even take advantage of. I mean, I'm saying that they probably do ski all the time. They're probably the best skiers in the world. And I'm just like, they don't ever ski. I don't know anything. I mean, I know they play hockey well. They were great. I mean, the Soviet hockey team was one of the greatest sports teams probably in history. I mean, they were, you know this. They've been playing movies about this. But, yeah, I mean, Klobuchar, I mean, if not VP, I mean, Secretary of Defense maybe. Because that's really what we want. We want her just dropping the hammer around the world. She won't need nukes. I feel like she'll just threaten to, like, we're gonna bomb your McDonald's. We're gonna bomb your Hardee's and your Carl. But you know, they have Hardee's internationally. I mean, they'll probably have to. She'll probably say we're gonna bomb your Hardee's, and then like on TV to like, you know, France or something, or like to Norway, or like over over some kind of weird tariff thing, which she shouldn't even be involved with. That's nothing to do with the defense, but she'll just call impromptu press conferences, and she'll, start threatening to like bomb things that aren't even in their country. Well, bomb your Hardys, and the generals will come to her. I say, Madam Secretary, they don't have Hard. We looked into it. We tried to do some reconnaissance and find some Hardys that we could bomb for you. They don't have it in Norway. They have McDonald's. Would you like to do that? And then she'll throw a stapler at the general, but ultimately agree. It'd be great. Oh my God, I'd love to, because and she'll get something probably, because she did from the establishment point of view, did the right thing. She fell in line. I believe on Super Tuesday. I think Buttigieg did on the Sunday, and I don't. Point is, by Super Tuesday, she and Buttigieg had dropped out, and endorsed Joe Biden, which obviously picked this rotting. I mean, I used to love Joe Biden. I mean, I probably talked about this before, but I loved how he used to threaten to beat up Trump behind the school, behind the gym. What the hell? I mean, I love the corn pop. I mean, if you haven't seen the corn pop video, just go YouTube Joe Biden corn pop. It's amazing. It's just, I should do a Patreon episode where I just break it down. Playing the thing and break, because it's just there's too much to talk about. But he's basically recounting the story of how he worked at a pool when he was like 20 in some inner city, and some black guy didn't, he's describing it as I don't want to paraphrase, but like almost racist, or definitely racist. I mean, but this tough guy, a real street guy, wanted to like stab him. Because he wouldn't let him dive in the pool or some shit, or he was running in the pool. I mean, he's describing like the Sandlot, but then saying he's going to get stabbed by this black gentleman so the mechanic at the pool or something, or the maintenance guy gave him some chain to wrap around his hand. It's an insane story, and it should disqualify him from even being able to sign a contract. He should have, he should be able to be declared unfit to, like, what's that term? But, he should be institutionalized for telling this story. But it should definitely disqualify him being president. But, apparently he's the best bet for the DNC, because they hate Bernie. They just hate him. Look, I like Bernie a lot. I'm probably going to vote for him. But, I'm openly skeptical about whether or not he can get it done. I think he's got integrity to really get it done. I'm honestly surprised how afraid they are, because it doesn't seem to me like, with the state of the Senate and McConnell, I mean, the shamelessness of how, like, they won't even vote on like Obama's Supreme Court nominee until the election's over. Like, they never voted on him. They waited till Trump. It's like the stuff you think you can't get away with, they just do. So like, I'd be surprised if Bernie got any of this done, but I guess they want to snip this in the bud. And so they're coalescing around the most frightening. I mean, Reagan was old, and he probably had dementia earlier on than we think. But he killed. Look, even his goddamn speech, his like leaving speech, his goodbye speech in the Oval Office or whatever. The City on the Hill speech, beautiful. I'm sure he had prompters or whatever, but look, the guy was an actor. Again, this is why Jason Priestley. Why not? Because actors know how to fucking not just hit their marks, hit those notes. And he didn't remember Iran-Contra supposedly, and he didn't believe AIDS was real, or he just wanted gay people to die. But he was able to speak. Biden can't even speak. On Super Tuesday, because look, I'm sure most of you are paying attention, but if you haven't, he did really well on Super Tuesday, and he's got the momentum going forward. I mean, it's not a lock by any means, but it was a big night for him. And at the end of the night, he's on the stage and he's having his little celebration, and he introduces, "This is my sister," he says, but it's his wife, which is. I mean, maybe, to be fair, maybe he just fucks his sister a lot, too. Maybe more than his wife. I mean, is that hot? I'll be honest with you, it piques my interest. It makes me want to learn more. I mean, like parent-kid incest, terrible. Sibling incest, it's probably also abusive. So I shouldn't say. I mean, you watch these porn videos and they're like, they're just kind of around about the same age and they're both horny and they both want to fuck basically, and one of them makes the first move. But I mean, sibling incest is probably like, an older brother diddling why do we allow diddling to be a thing? Diddling, I mean, that wasn't the point of this, but raping and diddling there's a wide divide there. I mean, it's a euphemism, I get it, but I mean, diddling is just, it's like a Ned Flanders thing. It's like it sounds like, probably started in the Midwest. It just sounds like that. Oh, you diddle them. It just seems odd that, like, I mean, I don't think they use the word diddle in court, but it just seems it's used too much. But the point is, if he's not fucking his sister, then it's, the guy's losing it. The guy's, before our eyes. I mean, and this is a guy who was sharp before. I mean, he was always problematic. People, apparently he was pretty instrumental in that Anita Hill hearing where Clarence Thomas, the Supreme Court, where he supposedly put a pube on her Diet Coke, but I think he was also just sexually harassing this woman, his secretary, and I think they were pretty rough on her, and they were pretty unfair to her, and dare say sexist and misogynist, and you could even argue rape apologists, and also he's instrumental in the crime bill with the Clintons and all that, and which is put a lot of young black men in jail for no good reason. I mean, sure, look, like anyone else, some of them are guilty of stuff, but a lot of black men went to jail for like having pot, which is I mean, look, that's the problem with this system. It's like when you look at it, it's not supposed to make sense. The more you learn, the more you realize, like, it makes sense, just not for, like, if you assume that they're on your side. It makes sense when you remember that, like, oh no, like, the point of this is for them to make money and to, marshal power and to use you as a pawn and to, fuck your kids and it just, perpetuate a class and a way of life, which doesn't seem worth it, honestly. I mean, I get a lot of it's just ambition too, because at the end of the day, the more freedom you have, the more you realize, like, when you're just working all the time, it's nice. Like, it's rough. I mean, but I've had times in my life where I was like working, multiple jobs. One was like I was doing the warehouse. I was working over the graveyard shift at the potato bread warehouse, like 12 midnight to 8, then going straight to a bar mitzvah and photographing that, then to a sweet 16. And look, this is not, I don't know what you think of when you think of photography, but at least the way I did it, it wasn't a casual thing. It wasn't a, hey, I'm just walking around with a camera, I'm sweating, I'm running around, sweating my ass off, and then ended up, so whatever. Point is, like, there was a period, I worked a lot, and I didn't mind it. It was fun. I mean, not fun, it sucked, but like, it was way better than the times when I was like, on unemployment and just laying around and like waiting for an open mic to start. And I'm like, what do I do? And like, and you keep planning to have things to do and you don't do them. And my point is that some of this might just be, they're keeping busy. They're keeping busy by, putting tons of minorities in jail and poisoning the water and, selling off the future environmental sustainability of the world for a short buck to keep busy. Because, I mean, look at what happened. Joe Biden left public office, and I'm not saying he was, Jeb Bartlett. I mean, when he left the Obama administration, I'll address that in a second. But, he wasn't Jeb Bartlett. I'll say it again. But he was... he wasn't this rotted out carcass of a man that he is now. And I'm not trying to, will I pick him over Trump? Yeah, sure. Will he beat Trump? Most people think not. I mean, I'm not one of these guys who knows. I think most of these people aren't either. That's the problem. All people talking out of their ass who don't necessarily know. Election math is kind of complicated. And a lot of these people running their mouth on Twitter lately, I don't know how tight on the math they are. And but, the reason I bring up Trump, I mean, was Jeb Bartlett. He was the president. Martin Sheen played him on The West Wing. probably the archetype for what they based Obama on when they planned him. The CIA planned Obama. I mean, he's a real person. He's a good guy. Killed a lot of people in what was it, Yemen, Pakistan. Drone strikes. But I mean, he was following a guy who killed millions of people. I mean, we talk about Trump, and he does a lot of bad shit. Bad guy. Like, look, dishonest guy, a crook. Plays on fear of immigrants. The detention centers, the Obama start them. They technically, but he ramped them up at an extraordinary pace. But Obama wasn't a good guy either. I mean, and he's following George W. Like George W. Bush killed millions of people with the Iraq War for nothing. I mean, not for nothing. Trillions of dollars, and supposed control of a region for a while, and the maneuvering, the pipeline. There's a lot of reasons, but no reason. I mean, they claim it was for weapons of mass destruction, but even then, like, who would believe that? I mean, we kind of like, why would you lie? I mean, you're gonna have to like find them later, and they didn't even bother when they got into Iraq. Like, they took the country I think the whole thing took 3 weeks, but they basically took it much quicker. But like the whole thing was like 3 weeks long. The actual the actual invasion or whatever you want to call it, like the military, the taking the shit. I mean, of course, holding it proved harder, but whatever. That's life. They didn't even bother faking. They could have just easily faked. Hey, we found some anthrax. Oh, good. See, we were right. They wanted you to know. They're like gangsters. So, yeah. The reality is, I vote for Biden against Trump. I mean, I don't think. No, look, Trump was able to do some bad stuff, and he's a mean-spirited guy. If you like him, I mean, I don't know why. I mean, unless you're like a stock guy. If you like him because he makes you money, then okay. I mean, I'm not gonna. I mean, look, you're probably in the same boat as a lot of the Democratic establishment who, they hate Trump on the surface, but they'd rather see Trump than Bernie. Because Bernie's going to fuck with the money, or at least try. And they'd rather have Biden lose and have Trump, because they're making, the tax cuts and whatever. These rich establishment guys are making money off that. I mean, they're not donating that to charity. I mean, that would be a move. Terry McAuliffe and all these establishment hacks who he was the head of the DNC, and they try him out on CNN along with all these other hacks. And he's, running down the Bernie supporter who's on the panel, and it's just like, did you donate the money you got in the tax cut to some women's shelter? Why not do that? No, they'll keep the money. Because that's the game. These people are not on your side. So the point is, but Biden's pretty rough. It's a pretty rough situation, and I don't know, but he did better than people thought. He won South Carolina, and pretty definitively on the Saturday before. But I think he was always projected to win, but he did really well. And he had some bad months. It's probably why they had these guys stay in as long as they did. Because the fact you had Buttigieg and Warren and Klobuchar and some other guys who didn't even matter. But Bloomberg. You wonder if Bloomberg was there just to kind of be a lightning rod to protect Biden. I don't know if anyone thought Bloomberg was going the distance. Like I said before, he's kind of a lizardy kind of just not charming at all. Like basically, Warren's just hammering him. I mean, I'm not a fan of Warren, but she did a good job hammering Bloomberg, and he's just his response to because he has tons of NDAs, non-disclosure agreements from these women who worked for him, I guess. Who accused him of sexual harassment, and Warren's just hammering him, going, "Are you going to release these NDAs? Are you going to lift these NDAs and let these women speak?" And his whole response is like, "Oh, I don't think I wouldn't break the trust of these women. These women signed these documents, so of course they want to keep it quiet." Which, of course, is not how an NDA typically works. Typically, you get money in exchange for signing the NDA, or in the condition of signing the NDA, saying, "All right, we'll pay you, but you can't talk about it." I don't know that anyone's ever requested an NDA. I mean, I'm sure plenty of victims don't want to go, broadcasting their story of being assaulted or harassed or raped. That being said, I don't think it was ever at the behest of any. My point, it's a laughable thing, and that was his entire. Like, that wasn't just like a glib comeback, and then he had a substantive response. Like, the guy just wasn't even trying. So you gotta wonder if he was there just to kind of absorb some of the ire and like some of the attention away from, because you could just like otherwise they'd be pointing at Biden, going, "Look at his ear." Like, brain matter is just falling out of his ear. It's in black sludge, and he's just incantating. He's just repeating Latin phrases while the mic's not on. Should we do something? Can we help this man? But Bloomberg was there, so they focused on that, and that might have been the point. And to a lesser extent, Buttigieg and Klobuchar. I mean, I wonder, because apparently Obama made some calls on, I guess, Sunday after South Carolina to kind of hey Amy, hey Klobuchar, you crazy monster, I love you baby, can you drop out for my friend Biden? And she did, because she's not going to do anything. They're doing this, even if they're not being coordinated, they're doing it to get some kind of cabinet position. So when Obama, who's still, I mean, it's funny because, the progressive, the debates kind of feel like a lot of people are shitting on Obama, but he's still royalty in that context. He still got the juice. I mean, what was it? Kerry in 2004? Because Gore didn't want Clinton, Bill Clinton campaigning for him in 2000. Probably a dumb move in hindsight because of the whole Lewinsky thing and the impeachment, and he thought he didn't want to be tarred by it. Probably would have been better if he did. But I believe by 2004, once he left office, they were kind of coronated. Like Bill Clinton, because, the economy took a shit, and then 9/11 happened, and we were just, in the Iraq war. So people look very fondly on the Clintons, and or at least Bill. I mean, Hillary was also doing stuff in the Senate. She was having her fucking heyday. That's probably so they definitely, I believe, Kerry tapped them, and they helped him, and it was nice, and they were seen as I think Bill Clinton gave a the keynote speech. Obama gave a speech in 2004. I forget if it was which night it was, but Clinton did another one. It was also a moving speech supposedly. But that was Obama's coming out, not gay, but just coming out as a national level guy. He gave some great speech. People loved it. Point is, Obama's that guy now. You might, in 4 years, you might be different. People might start talking more about drone strikes more. I doubt it. I mean, I don't think Obama raped people. So that's a plus. And if he did, I mean, that's the thing. I assume all politicians have done stuff like that, here and there. But with Bill Clinton, it kind of feels like, but they hide it, right? Just people in their life. They're typically privileged people on some level. A lot of them are CIA assets, or just have connections to the agency or the business, which is almost the same thing. These are people who have friends, and their friends have friends, and their family has friends, and they make shit go away. And I feel like Clinton did too. I mean, he had CIA connections probably, because they're flying that the cocaine they were shoving into the crack into the inner city that was coming in through Arkansas with Gary Webb and stuff. Look into that if you don't know. But just basically he's involved in that shit. So I'm sure he had people. That's how many people that all these cases still come out. That's what bubbled over the top. So point is, Obama, I'm not saying he's clean, but he didn't rape so many people at least. That it became a thing where you couldn't even contain him. So they called Klobuchar and Buttigieg, and they basically said, hey, take a step, what do they call that when they swap the pitcher out? I don't know. Take a knee? That's not take a knee, is it? It's something. And they're endorsing Biden. I mean, the Bernie guys are depressed. I mean, all these Bernie people are depressed about it. I mean, it's kind of shocking to me that how grim they are about it, because they're famous, not even famous. I've seen on Twitter all the time. They look. is everyone a rabid maniac who supports Bernie? Of course not. I mean, I support Bernie. I mean, not as vocally as these people, but and Lucy, canvases for him, whatever. I got nothing against the act of supporting Bernie, but a lot of these people are just dicks who. It seems to be like the style that's been adopted by like a large chunk, at least the most vocal and the most retweeted people. I'm not following every leftist out there. So I'm not seeing like your cousin Jan who just makes doilies about Bernie. Will tea coasters that say vote for Bernie, please. I'm not seeing that. I'm seeing all these straight up Leninists and Stalinists who are podcasting and tweeting and just fucking. I mean, supposedly because they're comedians, but they've given them. I mean, all they talk about is wanting to, put people in front of a firing squad for not supporting the Leninist agenda. I mean, like really, there is a lot of this out there. I'm not even being like hyperbolic. I mean, and like even the people who aren't quite that crazy are just like it's the MO to be like their style is typically we're sick of the system, we're sick of the endless cycle of neoliberal Democrats and centrist Democrats that get nothing progressive done. So we're not going to be polite about it. And look, I get the notion that you don't want to be polite, and you shouldn't have to be polite, but this is politics. But I mean, that's the thing. So these people are all just depressed, and it seems like this has been pitched as like a political revolution, as like I mean, it's they like to brand it that way. This is like the people are rising up; they're not going to accept it. And like, yeah, Biden did well. Bernie still got a path to victory. Yeah, like fucking Biden's got the momentum because like he was doing so shitty for like a long time, and Bernie was kind of feeling like the front runner. And now they're, I think, delegate wise, pretty even. And there's plenty of stuff to go on. Like, where did the fight go? Is this how revolutions start? Is this how civil rights went? Like, did Martin Luther King just say, "I have a dream that we'll march on Washington, and if they don't change anything, we'll just give up. We'll just go back home." It's like, this is how fucking women got the right to vote. They just like, they asked, like they had won, they took a straw poll, and like, and if they lost, they would have just said, "Fuck it, we'll just," no. People fight over generations. You want universal health care. Just fight. I still understand. Like, I'm not saying that like Bernie is not a worse situation, but don't lead with that. Don't do the job of your enemy for them. Like, what is that? What kind of move is that? What kind of spirit is that? I mean, these people are just like, I mean, and again, it's not me sitting there going like, "Oh, like you're a bunch of cucks" or anything. It's just like, I mean, a lot of you are. A lot of people like to put on this fucking patina of like socialist revolution, but they're not really. It wouldn't be admirable anyway. You don't really want a bunch of people threatening to guillotine you, but it's fun. It's just like Antifa for a lot of these guys is fun. I'm sure they mean well. Some of them, I'm sure don't. But whatever. But the point is, it's easy to do that. It's hard to do the slow work over time to, like just kind of make small gains and really build a coalition over, not years. Not, I mean, like, and if you look at it now, even if they lose, you've got a system, you're putting roots down of this socialist movement. It's like, yeah, you can become the establishment. Just stay with it. But these people are just like, they're so sad. And it's like, don't lead with this. Like, yeah, it's grim, but don't talk about it. Like, it's like if you wanted to a girl, you wanted to fuck a girl, and you're like, "Hey, like some hot girl at the bar," you're like, and maybe you don't have a shot, but like, you don't tell her like, "Hey, I know I'm a real fat turd, but I don't really fuck much. I mean, I'm not a virgin, but I haven't had sex that many times. I jerk off a lot, but so my dick does get hard because I know that because when I masturbate, it's hard. But you're really pretty, and I'm like, no, that's not how you do it. You gotta fucking just act like you've been there. Act like you don't fucking. I don't understand the lack of fight. I mean, just and like you say, well, fine, we can lick our wounds for. No, you can't lick your wounds for a day. No, that's bad. The optics are bad. The optics matter. After Trump, people were crying in the streets. Me and Tim were at that live Gethard event on public access, and people just crying in the studio, and it's just like baffling. It's like, and like, yeah, that sickens people. And like, I'm not trying to tell you, like, because we'll talk about it in a second about how like what politics is, like the game of it, and like perceptions and stuff, and like it doesn't do you any like. It's a war, and a lot of this is personality based. Like what you choose to do, a lot of it is just based on like. I mean, so psychologists have studied this, which I mean they could be wrong. I mean, I hate when people look. We've studied this. We know. What do I know? But like, point is, it seems viable. It seems like there's a certain truth to it. Then people are inherently like more prone to be compassionate and like take care of people, and they're like they lean left, and the people who are more like aggressive and more like get shit done and make money and and more ambitious they lean right. It's just like it's kind of the way we're programmed, and you need both people. You need both sides. You need, it can't all just be people feeling bad for each other and like hugging each other and like making each other potluck. You need some people driving the economy. Especially if you're gonna have if you're gonna have a huge social safety net, you need people who are like, don't take shit and just fucking make a ton of money and you tax them if that's your plan. Like this, if it works, if Bernie's thing works, which I don't know if if he got it passed and then it costs $30 trillion, but it's offset by taxing all these billionaires. I mean, you could argue that they're fucking they're rich kids, they didn't earn their money. A lot of them have ambition and they make money and they look, money is fake in a lot of ways, and the ways they make money might be fake, but you got that's your only choice for tax to get this health care is to tax them. Like, what happens if they stop being billionaires, they stop being ambitious? You need these people, and you need these people to be kind of on board, and so it doesn't do any good to be crying in the street, because that's gonna like make a person like that, as much as you get sickened by hearing Trump talk and being like, dog whistly racist, sometimes actually racist, often actually racist, whatever. Like, there's many things which you're entitled to be offended by Trump doing and saying. As much as that sickens you, people are sickened by the type of reactions they see. I mean, because they'll say, like, look, Trump's, and I've seen, I see, you could say it's not legitimate, that doesn't matter, because they get a vote. They get the vote. And so it doesn't matter if it's legitimate. And there's a certain legitimacy to it. It's definitely like, they don't really like Trump, they hate, but they can't get behind. I mean, a lot of it's identity. Like they can't identify with people who are just crying over this. I mean, you could argue, this affects me. I mean, yeah. Look, the most vulnerable people though are not the ones I see crying. A lot of it's just privileged white women. And privileged, and also men, these Brooklyn kids, these rich kids, these fucking, it's not the people who are like really, like they're mad and they're upset, but the ones you see like telegraph crying are always these kind of like people who are not really on the front lines of getting screwed over by this. And you could say, oh, we're being empathetic. Well, stop, because it's hurting the cause, because, it's not, I don't know, it's not attracting anyone, it's not helping anything, and it makes people just kind of repulsed by it. Like, and should they be? Doesn't matter. Because that's the thing. That's the problem with Bernie. And like, look, he still very well could win, and I like the guy. He doesn't have like a Steve Bannon type, who, yeah, let's say he's evil, but like a guy who understands strategy and tactics. And like Bannon was a little bit of a crazy man, a very smart guy, but kind of a, like, but like, there's also like, the whole position of like an architect of an election, right? Like the Carvels, the James Carvels, and the, I guess, Paul Begala, the George Stephanopoulos, the tacticians. Like I never got into politics. I was never interested in doing it. I always felt it was like a cheap, just like the same reason I don't want to be like work at a Fortune 500 company. It just feels weirdly evil. or I guess the best thing. It's just an evil thing to do, to be part of politics. Then again, like there's no alternative, so maybe I'm wrong. But the point is, those are people who thrive, or the people who like are able to analyze this stuff on a really like the math of it is very complicated, and the people who are like really good at this, I used to have a lot of respect for them. I still have respect for them, but like I still have a lot of awe for them because like they're keeping so many balls in the air, and there's and like when you hear them talk, there's all these permutations. I mean, if you go listen to like there's a great book Hunter Thompson wrote, Fear and Loathing on the Campaign Trail '72, about the Nixon-McGovern election, and there's two different chapters about the conventions, and the one about the Democratic convention is which might be pretty pertinent in this scenario if we get to a contested convention, but it's Thompson talking to I think Frank Wisner, that's the CIA guy, whoever the fucking I think it was the main McGovern's like main guy. And it's just like this really just like intense, long diatribe about like, well, in the first battle of this happens, and we move to these people. I can't recount it all because it's all very minutia and like and it's enthralling. And it was probably on Adderall when I read it, so it's just a little more enthralling. And I was just like, this is crazy. And it's like it's just all these different like well, if this happens, this happens. If that happens, that happens. We do this, like chess games going on, and that's what politics. Because like at the end of the day. Because that's the thing. These Bernie people, they seem to be under the impression that like politics is about what people need, and that's how you win, which has never really been true. Americans have never really voted in their own interest or acted in their own interest. Many of us, many of us are fat. Many of us smoke, and we actively go swimming cancer pools. We don't take care of ourselves. We don't look at the future. We don't we don't care about we care about global warming, but we don't. Like we're not acting in our self-interest ever. Most of what we do is driven by like our ids or whatever. I mean, like people laughed at Freud. I don't know if they laugh, but when I was growing up, there seemed to be this kind of, at least in the media I consumed. I know in Good Will Hunting there was like he shit on Freud a little bit because he did cocaine, and I don't know maybe, but I feel like there's other references around where like I had the perception as a teenager, like oh Freud was like the early psychologist, but like it was all debunked, and like now they do more modern stuff. But then you get older, at least I did, and you learn that like all this stuff, like oh everyone wants to fuck their mother, and there's Oedipal complex shit, and like all this stuff about like a cigar, what that like what's this represent, and like you think it's all or dreams, you think it's all horseshit, and you realize that like his nephew Edward Bernays, who many of you are probably familiar with. Edward Bernays is the basically the father of the public relations industry. He was Freud's nephew, and basically he took Freud's all his research and his theories. He went to America, and he started the public relations industry, and it worked really well at mind controlling people. I mean, he wrote a book called Propaganda, which I don't even know if it was a less bad word or a loaded word at the time. It's just called propaganda. I think even then it was a little like edgy. Like, yeah, I'm not even gonna call it like you would think they'd call it something like reaching consensus amongst consumers. No, propaganda. How to fuck people. And it's like, but it works. These things all work. We're driven by these like fucking impulses, these ids, these whatever. I'm not an expert on Freud. I know a little bit. I've read some Carl Jung too, or whatever. Point is, but this is like we're not as sophisticated as people like to pretend, and this stuff works. And my gripe with the Bernie people is that they just tend to, it just feels like they respond to everything with like. Because people will give them shit about being too mean, which, look, is that like a bitch move to like, complain about? Sure. Like, I'm not going to sit there and like, because Jan, the Warren supporter got offended because Bernie's, being too loud. No, fuck them. But like, maybe don't respond to her and like, don't respond to everything and don't be so vocal. This is common sense. Like, we're all growing. I mean, some of you are younger than me, but I believe it seemed to be common sense that you wouldn't talk shit. This is business too. You don't talk shit about your competitor. It doesn't look good. I never agreed with that per se. I never so I get the instinct to like ignore that Because I was always like, why not? I mean, I'd respond to someone shitting on their competitor, but people don't. I guess I'm not one of the people. So I know that. I know, like, my tastes are weird and esoteric, and like I like things that are boring and minutia. I'm telling you about this 100 Thompson's great, but I'm telling you about this fucking chapter, and all I'm like, it's just so fucking boring, man. It was detailed. It's like it's not sexy. It's not fun, and that's why I like Michael Clayton. I like weird. I like the show Rubicon. I mean, like I like weird shit. But I know most people don't, and I'm a weird outlier. And like, you shouldn't lead with what I want. I don't know who these masked people are per se. Who are the ones who like you got treat with kid gloves and do all the stuff that like policy like tactical wonks in campaigns did before and still do. But they're there. I mean, it's self evident, and look, Bernie is authentic and he comes off that way. And I think most people, look, some people, like I said, like, are complaining about he's too loud, and it's like, fuck off. It reminds me of my abusive dad. Like, you're being a pig. Stop it. But people, look, yeah, not everyone's on Twitter, but when even more the point, because a lot of people, like, the people who are on Twitter aren't, like, most people aren't usually on it. So when they do log on, they see these, like, it's very smug and acerbic, and, like, it's just. Here's the thing. I know enough to know. I know some of these people, like from comedy or whatever. I know they're like, they're not dumb, but they're kind of dumb. Like, I know they're not like they're acting like they're fucking researching this stuff and like they have data. And I know they don't. They're talking out of their ass and they make this shit up. And like the way they dismiss things and the way they just kind of like shit on me, it's just not. Is it a reason? No. But the point is, it's reflective of you need a certain level of you just gotta sell it better. You gotta sell the whole thing better. It's like, and you may not get it this time, but the idea that like, oh, we're just gonna like virtue our way to it. I don't mean virtue signal in this case, but like we're right, so therefore people should agree with us. All we gotta do is explain to them we're giving them health care, and like the people are dumb. Some people would argue they're too dumb to be governed. Do I agree? I try not to, but sometimes it's hard to not agree with that because look, they'll vote against their interest every time. I remember, I mean, it's a skill. Politics is a skill, and I don't know. There's a lot of math involved, and like, and these people are just like depressed. They're just losing their minds about, the fact that like Biden's got like, some momentum. I mean, he's gonna fucking like blow it probably. I mean, not blow the election per se, but I mean, there's a good chance he's going to say some real dumb shit that's going to catch fire. Like, lean on that. Like, I mean, plan for that. Like, and don't. You don't have to like tweet not everyone's being an army of tweeters tweeting like this guy sucks, that guy sucks. It's like do it more like under the table. What are you doing? Like, stop giving the game away because like it's not. People who like them, they don't need that. And, like, no one's ever turned... Like, no one's convinced when you, like... Excuse me. No one's convinced by anything, really. People aren't usually convinced. I don't know how much of any of this, like, discourse changes anything. So, most of what you're doing is just telegraphing annoyances to people and just pissing them off and making them, and like, should they be grown-ups about it? And like, should Warren supporters like, go? I mean, look, I watched some fucking idiot on Twitter yesterday going like, people just assume Warren should drop out now, and and they're saying we should endorse Bernie, but like they're doing nothing to lobby us and to convince us he's the right. Like, I don't know how much more information you need. Like, I don't know what you want. Want to be lobbied? This is the problem. Everyone's indulgent. They're self-indulgent. Like, yeah, and like in that case, yeah, they're war. Everyone's awful, but not everyone. But the other side's awful too. But they have the establishment behind them. They have the CIA who kill people and spread lies and everything you can think of. They have the media. They have business backing, these candidates. Like, they do it too. Doesn't matter. because they have like their media is not going to amplify it, and your Twitter account's not reaching everyone. So again, I like Joe Biden. I think he's a nice guy, but so I'm not going to sweat it that much if he gets elected and then just starts, like what's the first thing he would do? He'd probably just start masturbating. That seems cliche. He might start like cutting himself. He might become like a cutter and sort of like becoming a punk 13-year-old girl. And just who knows? I mean, he might become a Republican. I mean, the guy's a maniac. I mean, it's a real crapshoot. But it's fun. Look, if we get him, we get him. But that's the thing. Also, like, stop losing. Bernie's probably not getting much. And people are making this case, but it's like as a kind of like active case. But the problem is, like, I'm not saying that. Like, people are trying to pitch that as like, look, vote for him because he's probably not going to get it done anyway. I'm not saying that. What I'm saying is, like, these people are losing their minds about the situation. It's like, reality is, until you get more people in Congress and the Senate and you like start like really changing the whole texture of the voting public more, it's so that they'll put pressure on like their districts, congressional representatives and shit. The reality is, like the odds of him getting this Medicare shit passed and everything, not great. So what will we lose? You lose the first fight. It's fucking I don't know. I mean, these people just don't know how to motivate each other. I would just fucking start quoting Herb Brooks. It's just because it's a great. I mean, this is what I would say to these fucking Bernie kids if I was actually on the campaign. I'd just come out and be like, because you act like you're gonna win. Like it's everyone else's job to like declare you dead. Like, why are you guys doing it to each other? You just got like I mentioned the Soviet hockey team before. It was a great. Herb Brooks was the coach. It's a Miracle on Ice. The fucking. They made a movie Miracle about it. There's a documentary on HBO. Do you believe in miracles? Great, both great. Herb Brooks, who was in the movie, was played by fucking Kurt Russell, but this scene wasn't in the movie. They beat the Soviets, and the Soviets were like this military team in the Olympics. But they were basically members of the military. That's why they were able to be amateurs. But the guys were like 40 or something, or like 35. They're all like big jack guys in their prime, like fighting. And they're from Russia in the Soviet Union, so like they have like elite hockey players. It's like basketball in America. It's like fucking. So they were a juggernaut, and for years they won. I mean, I forget how many Olympics in a row they won. But long story short, Herb Brooks organized this team, and they're all college kids, and they beat the Russians eventually. And the thing, but there was a part, so they beat, and that's the big chunk of it is that. But then there's a part in the documentary to go, everyone forgets they had to play Finland afterwards. And if they lost Finland, they wouldn't get, not only like a goal, they wouldn't get anything. And there's a whole thing in the Soviet game where like right before the game, Brooks goes into the locker room and tells them, he starts giving a speech about, it's like, I'll paraphrase, but this is your time. It's not their time. It's your time. You were in this. This, some of the all this like really like powerful, like sports movie shit. But like according to the players, this is what he said, and they got them all amped up. It was nice. It was and they beat this. They were huge underdogs and they won. When it came to the next game, because they did it. They beat the Russians. They beat the Soviets. They know what they're gonna do it. They play Finland now. So now like they might not even get gold if they lose this game. So he just goes in the locker room right before the game, and this time he just walks in. He goes, "If you lose this game, you'll take it to your fucking grave." Then he stopped. He walked a couple steps, stopped, turned around. Your fucking grave. That's what these people need. They need someone like that. Thank you guys so much. This has been great. I want to plug a few things. March 12th, 13th, and 14th, 3 days in a row, I will be, Tim Dillon is headlining Caroline's, the great Tim Dillon. I will be joining him for all 5 shows. At the end of the show, we're going to do like a mini podcast, mini live podcast after each show. So definitely. I mean, Tim's stand up is amazing, and this will be a lot. And the podcast is going to be great. You guys know what's going on. But definitely go to that if you're in New York or you're near New York. Tim's in LA now, so it's not. You're not going to be seeing him, locally. You might be used to seeing him at the stand all the time or wherever, but this is he's in LA most of the time. And his headlines, he's got fucking weekends. He's got a tour going on, and he's booked the whole year. I mean, most weekends. So like, he's not going to be popping in at the local clubs in New York as much as he. So this is a shot to see. This is it for probably this year. So definitely, get tickets. It's selling out quick. March 12th, 13th, 14th, go to carolines.com or you go to timdilloncomedy.com. We're also doing I'm going to LA with for a live podcast as part of the Netflix is a Joke festival. Netflix has started a comedy festival, and let me see what this is. How do I get to a tagged things? How do I get to a tagged thing? Let's go to Tim's page. It's May something. Let's see. I think it's on my Twitter, but basically, you want to go to that too. It's going to be part of the Netflix is a Joke. We're doing a live podcast. What the fuck? And let's see. I'm tagged in this. He just gave me the date. So if you're in LA, it's going to be at the Roosevelt Hotel in Los Angeles on Saturday, May 2nd, 10 p.m. Pre-sale tickets available on March 3rd, so that should be now at 10 a.m. Pacific time. Follow Netflix. Go to netflixisajoke.com for those. So check those out. Also, the Patreon for Kump is active. The first episode went out Monday. So get in on this. This is great. We have 2 tiers. The $5 tier gets you the weekly extra episode. There's also a $20 tier. I forget if I named it or not. Maybe I'll call it the Kump Dump. But basically, that's going to be, you get that, plus we do another episode once a month, I believe. Plus, I'm going to be, this is all, you can see that if you're watching the video on YouTube or whatever, you can see I'm things are evolving. I mean, there's been a big difference between this week and last week on the video, I think. So, well, it is. I mean, I'm not going to be too humble. I mean, it looks a lot better. I mean, last week was fine, but this is better. Looks better. So, my point is, I'm ramping shit up. We're making content. I'm going to be putting videos on there. All sorts. I mean, I got to stay, again, just much like Joe Biden, I got to stay busy, or else I lose my brain. So, definitely go to that Patreon. Follow me on Twitter and Instagram at Ray Kump. Listen to Our Love is Disgusting, the podcast I do with Lucy Steiner, which is a hilarious podcast, recording in the same studio. And that comes out every Sunday. So Kump Saturday. Our Love is Disgusting Sunday. And Monday is the Patreon Kump. So you can have you can have us in me and Lucy in your life in different variations. I mean, we can even do, I could basically, objects, whatever these people on OnlyFans do. I'm not gonna do sex stuff per se, but yeah, I can give you. I'm not gonna give you my panties, but maybe I'll sell people my my socks or something if you need to be connected to the Kump universe. So definitely check all that out. Just subscribe to this on YouTube and on all sorts. Even if you usually listen to the podcast, subscribe on YouTube. Please, and go on iTunes and subscribe there, and do all this stuff. This stuff matters, and it costs you nothing. It costs you nothing, and it gives me everything. I'll be in a guillotine in a year if I can't get this going. Those Bernie bros will attack. Will just eviscerate me. So I need your help. So just little things. You don't have to Patreon. I appreciate it. But if not, just rate and review or subscribe or just keep listening. I'm not that greedy. If you just keep listening, it's still great. So thanks so much. I will see you if you're on the Patreon. I'll see you in a couple days. If not, I'll see you next week.